video might be a little shorter than what I wanted it to be because we are experiencing like a rash of thunderstorms right now. And when it rains and thunders, it's deafening in here. You can't hear me speak. Yeah, can't do anything. So I'm going to try to make this really quick. So today we're going to be talking about turning, if it's possible, to turn your old ceramic molds into candle molds. And it is. You can do it. You may only get 1 or 2 pourings from them though, because the thing is the plaster, it doesn't like to be hot. And in fact, if you want to break down a plaster mold, you get it hot. You can put it out in the sunshine. You can put it in the kiln on just really super low fire. You can put it in your own oven. You can sit on top of the kiln. And that's why I tell people when they're first starting out and they're excited and they want to rush it and they want it to dry. And so they always sit on top of the kiln. And I did that 2 years ago. Or you set it out in the sunlight, or you stick in your oven and you try to speed up the drying process. That is a huge no-no. Your mold really breaks down. So that's what we're also fighting when we're trying to use these for candles. Okay, this is the best one that we did right here. This mold came out really, really well. There was minimal scarring here, a little tiny bit of breakage. The other side got a little break on it, but that was after I pulled it out, so it went fine. This is actually a pretty decent candle from these, and I could probably get, I would say maybe 3, because this is actually in pretty good condition. I might be able to get 3 or 4 candles out of this one. This right here, how we got such a good example is we used Murphy's oil soap and the generic version of Murphy oil soap, and we put probably 10 coats on here. So what you do is you brush it in and you let it sit. You brush it in and you let it sit, and you do this over and over and over until the mold is completely saturated. It will, when it's done, it will pool on the top and it cannot drink anymore. And then you wipe that off, let it completely dry. And I mean completely, let the whole mold completely dry. So when you pick it up, it's not cool to the touch. So once it completely dries, then you're ready to do the wax. On this one, this was straight wax. We didn't let it cool. We didn't do anything special to it. We just poured it straight in, and this is what we got. Now this one. This one, we used Vaseline. And as you can see, it took part of the mold with it. Now the thing is with this, is this will chip right off. So you will have a really cool candle when you're done, but you're only going to get it once. So keep that in mind. If you're going to use Vaseline as a release, you're going to get it once. This was also straight wax poured in, and this is what we got. Now this little gem, I got it propped up with a piece of nothing here. This, we did 2 different things on this. For one, the mold release was just spray. I don't want to use anybody's brand name, like a spray grease you use for cooking, because that's a really good release agent on a lot of these molds. Not this, but you know, silicone molds. So we put 2 or 3 coats of that in here. We wiped it off, and then we used a kind of like a candy shell. So we poured in the regular wax, we swished it around, and we dumped it out. Okay? So that left a big cavity. Then for the inside, and this weighs nothing. Ooh. Anyway, this weighs nothing. It is so lightweight because we whipped the wax. And we put so much air in the wax that it was just, it weighs nothing. This turned out to be hollow. So the next time, if you want to, you know, use the hard candy shell and you have an appendage coming off, I would let it sit here until it hardened before I try to dump the rest of it out. So this I was really impressed with. As you can see, the mold release, however, was terrible. It was terrible. It chewed it up. Now, this is an old mold, too. This is from the 60s, I do believe. I just don't want to use it any longer. It ate the bottom part, and I'm wondering if it's because when we put the spray release on it, if we didn't get it thick enough on the bottom, because you can see everywhere else it was just fine. So I'm wondering if when I sprayed it I sprayed it like this. If I just kind of missed a spot there, we would actually have to do this again to get another test on that. But the lightweightness of this is really cool. I mean, well, of course this is more wax, but still there's no comparison. This is light as a feather. And if you're gonna make these to sell, it's gonna be cheaper. It's gonna be cheaper to mail these because of the weight of them, and you're gonna go through way less wax. So instead of getting 3 candles, you're gonna get 6 candles. So let's think about this. Blend it just with a regular blender. Blend it like you would a meringue. So it takes quite a while. So you're gonna blend, and all of a sudden you're gonna start seeing bubbles. Pop those bubbles the best as you can as you're blending, and all of a sudden it's just gonna start turning white and thick. And don't let it get too thick now, because then you won't be able to pour it into the mold. But once you get it kind of a froth, I guess is the right word, kind of a wet snow, that's when I would pour it in. Now, word to the wise, once you pour it in, don't mess with it, because I was messing with it because it was just so fluffy and it looks like this. So don't mess with it. On a mold like this, which we're gonna do here in a second, I'm gonna show you how to do it. We're gonna put the wick in. We're not gonna glue it down, or we're not gonna bore a hole and put it on the other side or any of that mess. We are just going to pour the stuff in, stick it in, and leave it. Okay, so now we know about using the mold for wax. We can use them, but with limitations. Okay, let's see how this one turned out. This has been sitting here for several hours, 4 or 5 hours. It's starting to get dark. We're losing our light. I've got skylights in here, and the light gets really funky this time of day. All right, so if you remember, this is the one that we did not put the little hard candy shell in there. We just poured the whipped wax. Let's see what happens. So far so good, no breakage at all. Now you're gonna laugh when I show you what this is. This mold is a baby diaper. That's why I used it. Okay, so we learned something. So when you don't put the hard candy shell, you don't get this smooth finish. You get the finish as it folds, as the froth folds into the mold. Can't say that I like that. Came out very good, didn't damage anything, so we can actually pour this again and try again. So if you wanted to make this work, I would paint or swish around some just regular melted wax inside of your mold. Then I would whip the wax, and this is super light. Then I would whip the wax until it was kind of a white, frothy kind of thing, so you don't get those lines on it. You see that? Yeah. So this stops that. Then you get that nice coating on it. So that's the experiment, and those are my findings. If you have a mold that you really like and you want to make a candle out of it, is to make one and then make a silicone mold and then use that for wax, honestly. This was a lot of trouble for very little reward. But if you do it right, you can get a really fabulous candle out of it. And there you go.